Ladies and gentlemen, hockey is finally back. It has been 106 days since the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Dallas Stars in 6 games in the Stanley Cup Final in the NHL bubble. I'm Dominic, back, joined with my good friend here, Dan. We're going to talk about the 2020-2021 NHL season that is set to begin today. The 56-game season, entirely new thing we're looking at this year. We've got 4 completely new divisions. We're looking at, you're only going to play the same teams a certain amount of times. A different playoff format we'll get into, and what a crazy outlook we're going to have on this year and just the entirety of hockey for this year alone. Hopefully we're back to normal next year, but it's going to be a fun year. So let's get right into it. We're going to dive into these new divisions that have come out. We're going to start with the North Division. This one might be my favorite division just because how competitive it's going to be. Entirely Canadian. We'll talk about all the teams. The Calgary Flames are in it, the Winnipeg Jets, the Vancouver Canucks, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Ottawa Senators, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Edmonton Oilers. So, Dan, I've tasked you with picking your top 4. Those are the teams that will go to the playoffs this year in all the divisions. Top 4 teams from each division will make it to the playoffs. So, Dan, why don't you go ahead, give us your top 4, and then I'll go a little bit deeper into this division.
Yeah, so like you said, all Canadian division, this should be a really fun one to watch. Canadians love their hockey, and they're just going to be playing each other pretty much the entire season. So for me, my 4 teams that will make it through are the Maple Leafs, the Oilers, the Flames, and the Canucks. I just think, like some of the other teams that didn't make it, Winnipeg, the Canadiens, and the Senators, I could see perhaps the Canadiens making it. However, I just feel like these other 4 teams are stronger, especially the Maple Leafs and the Oilers. So I don't see a way they don't make it. But the Canucks and Calgary have enough talent on their team, Peterson, Gaudreau. So I think those guys will lead them to the playoffs.
Well said, Dan. I'm really excited for this all-Canadian division. We're going to see the Battle of Alberta, I believe, 8 times. We're going to see Toronto play Montreal a good amount of times. We're going to see Ottawa play Toronto a good amount of times. We're going to see Ottawa play Montreal a good amount of times. It's just going to be a lot of fun watching this division. I'll break down my standings. Coming in last, kind of sucks for me. I'm a fan. Ottawa Senators. In this division, they're definitely going to come in last, I feel like. I think if the divisions were normal, they would have finished maybe 6th in the Atlantic, possibly 7th. But they're going to come last in this. It's going to be a fun year to watch them, honestly. Tim Stützle, I think he's going to win the Calder this year. I think a lot of people look at Lafreniere. He's a good pick. And then there's a guy from Minnesota. People are looking at to win. But I think it's going to be Stützle. After an amazing performance for the World Juniors from him, I can see it happening in Ottawa for him. Making next year and years to come down the line even better for them. So it'll just be another developmental year. They'll look to get another draft pick. 6th place, I'll have the Winnipeg Jets. I don't imagine much from them this year. Line A's got Stastny back on that second line, so better year from him, I would assume, and hopefully enough to keep him around for future seasons. So we'll see what happens there. 5th, it's Montreal for me. They did really well in the bubble in the play-in against Pittsburgh, and they did really good against the Flyers. But I think it's a really good chance that they do end up making the playoffs, but I don't see it happening personally. I think they finish 5th, just right outside, because I think Edmonton makes it in at number 4. I think, you look at that first line, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, that's going to be enough to win them a certain amount of games and get them in the playoffs. I firmly believe that. They're going to be without Clefbaum for the entirety of the season, but that should not hurt them as much. He was, hurt a little bit last year, and even when he did play, he wasn't much of a factor for them. So I think they'll finish 4th. Vancouver finished 3rd, mostly because their goaltending. Their offense isn't the greatest, but Thatcher Demko and Braden Holtby is going to win them a lot of games. And as Dan said, they do have Elias Pettersson. He's going to win them a few games alone. As I said, offense is a little lackluster, but they'll figure it out. They'll get in there. Second, I got Calgary Flames. They made a lot of moves in the offseason. Their goaltending is a little fixed up. Johnny Gaudreau, I think he's destined for a bounce-back season this year. And I think the Flames get it second, and then Toronto's going to finish first. I firmly believe that. Their first 2 lines are probably the best in all of hockey. And then Anderson and Net, probably a top 15 goalie in the league right now. So I think Toronto finishes first in the All-Canadian division, also known as the North Division. So we'll move on. We'll bounce from the North Division over to the Central Division. The Central Division this year consists of the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Nashville Predators, the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Dallas Stars, the Carolina Hurricane, and the Detroit Red Wings. Dan will do what we did with our Canadian division. Give me your top four, and then I'll dive in a little bit deeper.
Uh, yeah, this one very interesting division. Some good teams, but there are also a lot of teams I don't think have a chance at all. So for me, the Lightning, the Stars, the Hurricanes, and this one a little tricky for me. I picked the Panthers to get in. So to me, the Lightning and the Stars, obviously just in the Stanley Cup Final, even though the Lightning and Stars will be without their, two best players for substantial periods, I think they still have enough to get in this division. And then the Hurricanes, there's a good squad. Aho's a very good player, I think. They played Boston pretty well in the bubble, so I think they have enough in this division. And then just for the last one in, I just picked Florida. I think they're better than a few of these lower teams like the Red Wings and the Blackhawks, and I think they'll be able to get in.
Also, Dan, I like that pick with Panthers sneaking in. That's a dark horse, I think. Not on mine though. I had Detroit coming eighth. I think that's pretty obvious. They're going to be pretty bad this year. Hopefully better than last year. It's pretty weird seeing the Red Wings be this bad after I believe it's 23 straight years of making the playoffs. So they'll just look to get another good draft pick for this upcoming draft. So they'll finish eighth. Dan, this is where I have to disagree with you. I think the Panthers finished seventh. They lost one of their top point getters from last season, Evgeny Dadonov, who goes to Ottawa. They do bring in Anthony Duclair, who could, fill in that role a little bit. He'll probably bounce up to the first line, but I don't think he'll have much of an impact. Sergei Bobrovsky, still a great goalie. He's going to win them a handful of games, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think they finished seventh. At sixth, I got the Nashville Predators. Not the team that, made the Stanley Cup Final a few years back against the Penguins. They still got Duchesne, who, a few years ago was one of the top in the league. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I still think he's got what it takes to be a top center in this league. So I've got them coming sixth. At fifth, I got the Chicago Blackhawks. I think them losing Kirby Dach and Jonathan Taves really took a big blow on their. If they had any playoff chances, they're now gone, I believe. I think they've got a little bit of a problem in net too. I don't think Subban is the answer, and some of the guys they have behind him. I'm not really sure what they've got yet in that, but I don't see them making the playoffs. I think Patrick Kane's probably going to put up very good numbers in a 56 game season. I could see him putting up 75 plus points, and that's pretty good for 56 games. So that's good enough to get the Blackhawks in fifth, I suppose. The Dallas Stars, I see them coming in fourth. Tyler Seguin out for majority of the season. The same thing with Ben Bishop out for majority of the season. So I think that's why I send them down to fourth. I think it'd be higher if they had both those guys for the entirety of the season, but they don't. At third, I've got the Blue Jackets. It's just a pretty complete team. I like Korpisalo and net, and it's going to be another good season from them. I believe in a better season than they had last year, I would assume. But not better than Carolina, who's going to come in second. Dan said it. Aha's a very good player. He's got potential to be one of the top in the league very soon. Along with the rest of the roster, that's a good team. They're going to make the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a good run at the Cup this year. But they're going to be behind one other team, and that's the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending Stanley Cup champions, without Nikita Kucherov for the entirety of the season, it looks like. But, I mean, I could go all day. Steven Stamkos, Braden Point. I think Vasilevsky's destined to win the Vezina this year. So I think that award's his to lose, in my opinion. So I think the Tampa Bay Lightning end up winning this division. Probably by a landslide, honestly. I think they've run away with it. It's probably theirs after 45 games, I would say. But it'll be a fun division to watch regardless. We'll see obviously the Cup rematch between Tampa and Dallas. We'll see that a couple times. We'll see Tampa play Columbus. We remember their playoff series from a couple of years back where Columbus knocked them out in 4 games. That'll be fun to watch. Majority of these games are fun to watch. It'll still be fun to watch Patrick Kane do his thing. We'll have to see how he does without Taves. But I still think he'll have a very good season. And, of course, more hockey, more fun. We'll move on to the West Division now. This division, it's kind of easy to pick the winners from here. But you got the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Los Angeles Kings, the Minnesota Wild, the Anaheim Ducks, the Arizona Coyotes, the St. Louis Blues, and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan, go with the top 4.
Yeah, so this top 4, I feel like 3 of the teams are very easy to pick, and then the last one there could be a bit of a debate about. But for me, I have the Avalanche in there, the Golden Knights. Those 2 teams, 2 of the best in the league, I would say without a doubt. I also think the Blues will make the playoffs again. They are without Petrangelo, of course. He left for Las Vegas, but I still think that they have enough to make it to the playoffs. And then my last team is the Wild, just kind of by process of elimination. I don't think the Kings really have a shot or the Ducks. So it's like between the Sharks, the Coyotes, and the Wild, and for no good reason, I'm just gonna put the Wild in there. I think that they're a solid team all around, and I think that they'll sneak in the West Division.
Well said, Dan. And that's all you really can say about this division. There's obviously three winners, and then one of the teams out of the Kings, the Wild, the Ducks, the Coyotes, and the Sharks are going to end up making it in. Uh, Finishing last, I have the Sharks. I just don't see how they're going to do anything this season. They still need to figure out what they're going to do with Evander Kane. He might terminate his contract on his own, but I'm not sure how that's going to play out. So we'll have to go by day with that one. So they'll finish last, and there's not much to say about them. The Los Angeles Kings, they'll finish in seventh. They'll probably be very close in points wise. Honestly, they'll probably be very bad. The Kings will continue their rebuild. They'll wait for Quentin Byfield to eventually come over. And then I imagine the Anaheim Ducks will finish sixth. Same thing with the rest of these California teams. They're going to look to continue their rebuild and just wait for their prospects to develop. And a few years down the line, they'll probably be a decent team. And then in fifth, I have the Minnesota Wild. I think they will be a little bit better than all the other teams I just mentioned, but I don't think it'll be good enough to them to make it into the playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, they got that rookie. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they got a decent squad. So I could see them making maybe a push at the playoffs, but I have them finishing fifth. At fourth, I have Arizona, mostly because I just like Phil Kessel a lot. I don't really know how else to explain it. I just like Phil Kessel. He's a cool guy. Uh, I think the Coyotes, out of all those other teams I just mentioned, they probably have the best shot at making the playoffs. They did lose Taylor Hall, but I don't think that'll be too much of a blow to them. It will be a big blow, but not compared to the blows the rest of these teams are going to take, just from their teams being bad in general. So we'll move on from those bad teams. We'll move on to the good teams. At third, I got the Blues. Dan said they're without Petrangelo, and they're going to be without Tarasenko for majority of the season. But I still think, like I said, with this terrible division, they should be perfectly fine making it into the playoffs as probably the third seed. They could possibly move to second, but I doubt it because at second I have the Colorado Avalanche, the team I'm representing right now. What a team, top to bottom. That team's great, defense, offense. The only problem they have is goaltending, and that was my reasoning for not putting them in first. I think in the regular season, goaltending's huge. It's going to win you a lot of games, but Avalanche, not very good goaltending. I don't know how they're going to end up making it first, only because I think the Golden Knights end up taking first place in this division. I mentioned the Avalanche has problem with goaltending. The Golden Knights do not. Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Leonard in net, that is probably the best goaltender duo in the league right now. I think and their offense and defense, amazing. Marchessault. You look at William Karlsson, you look at Mark Stone, you look on the defense for Trangelo they bring in, Shea Theodore. What a team. Like I could go on and on about how great this team's going to be this year. So they're going to take the top spot in the West, and this is going to be another fun division to watch. I can't wait for all the battles between Colorado and Las Vegas. Those are going to be really fun. And then I'm kind of excited to watch these prospects from majority of these other teams as well to see how they do, and to see if there's any future studs and any diamonds in the rough in these teams that we don't see making the playoffs. So we'll move on to the last division, the East Division. This division is stacked, to say the least. We'll start out the Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Philadelphia Flyers, the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, the New Jersey Devils, and the Buffalo Sabres. Dan, why don't you go ahead, give us the top four, and then I'll go in more.
Yeah, right before I do that, I think I just looked it up while you're talking. I believe the rookie that you're talking about for the Minnesota Wild is Kirill Kaprizov, who led
Bingo.
the
Thank you.
KHL in goals for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, look out for
So
him
if
on
you could,
Minnesota this year. Thank you, Dan.
yeah. So like you said, this East Division, to me, it's by far the best division that we have this year in the NHL. Of course, with these realigned divisions, some tough teams. But for me, the four that make it in are the Capitals, the Flyers. I think Carter Hart will be the best goalie in the NHL this year. Maybe a bit homer bias, but he's so young, but he's so confident. He bails the Flyers out a lot, which I think will win them some games this year. the Boston Bruins, and for me getting in, I can't keep them out. Is the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's just in this 56 game season, Crosby and Malkin, they're gonna win games, and I think they'll be good enough to get in. There a few teams hard to keep out. I mean, the Sabres obviously they have Eichel and Hall, which will be a fun line to watch to say the least. And then the Islanders as well, who made a very deep run in the playoffs last year. But I think Pittsburgh will be the last in for me.
Well, so Dan, I'll start with mine. I think this is everyone's pick to finish last. Probably it's the Devils.
They're gonna
Uh,
lose a lot of games
they're going
in
to
this
lose a lot of
division.
games. They don't have much going for them right now. Um, they got a lot of good young guys, so they could be a really good team in the near future. But this year is not going to be their year. They're going to look for these 56 games to go by very fast. They don't want to be here right now, honestly. So just look for them to develop players. And I feel so bad for them because if you put them maybe in the West Division, they finish maybe fifth because of how garbage that division is. But in this division, it's just not going to be good for them this year. At seventh, I got Buffalo, only because Taylor Hall is going to make them better than the New Jersey Devils. That's going to be a fun first line to watch with Hall and Eichel, like Dan said. So keep an eye out for them. At six, I went to New York Rangers. They got a really good team, but again, in the stacked division, sixth, that's the best I could do for them. Obviously, they hit the lottery with Lafreniere in the draft. That kid, he's just going to be so good. He already is so good. He's just going to get even better. I do think Artemi Panarin puts up a hell of a season, and it's enough for him to win the Hart Trophy. I think it was for me. It was between him and Nathan McKinnon, and I just think that Panarin's got more at hand to help him win. I know McKinnon's got Rantanen on his side, uh, but I think Panarin's got Zibanejad's nice, and depending on what line they put Lafreniere on, he could end up playing with him eventually, and also maybe Strome eventually. So I think Panarin puts up a really good season. He wins the Hart. At fifth, this was really hard for me to choose. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the Islanders here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the Bruins here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the Penguins here. But ultimately, I ended up going with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh misses the playoffs this year. I think it's a big regression year. I think Sidney Crosby still has a pretty good year, but I think Malkin regresses a lot. I think the rest of the team just regresses a lot. And it's going to be a big problem for them because they don't have many good young guys. I mean, I know that they got a few of them, but they don't have many, coming up very soon that are going to help them win immediately. So this team, I don't say this is necessarily a downfall year. I think there's a very good chance they do end up making the playoffs this year, but it's going to be a big regression year for them, I believe. And at fourth, I got the Islanders. I just obviously Dan said it. They made a really good run in the playoffs last year, make the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't see how you can make the Eastern Conference Finals and then not make the playoffs at all. So I'm going to have to put them in there on that alone. And they still have a pretty good team. So I think they make it in at fourth. I think it'll be really close between them and Pittsburgh the entire season, but I think they squeak out just enough to make it in. At third, I got Boston. Similar to Pittsburgh, I think Boston's gonna have a really big regression year. They're gonna be without Pastrnak for a little bit. He's on IR right now. I think Marchand and Bergeron and Tuukka Rask, I think they all regress a little bit this year, but they're still going to be a good team regardless. And if this was the normal Atlantic, I think they'd probably be second, only behind Tampa Bay. But they're still going to be a good team regardless. But I think it will be a bit of a worse year for them than we've seen in previous years. And second, I've got the Capitals. Ovechkin, he's going to do Ovechkin things. We all know what Ovechkin does at this point in his career. Uh, it's just a matter. It's just a matter of how many points he's going to put up. He's going to get so many, I imagine. I said Kane earlier; he could probably get 75 plus. I think Ovechkin could probably end up with 80 plus, maybe. He might give Panarin a good run for his money at the Hart Trophy, so we'll see what happens there. And the Capitals just a good team. You got Samsonov and net now. They let Holtby go to Vancouver. You know, just a good team in general. And then top of the division, I got the Flyers. Um, I'm trying to keep my bias out of this. I think the Flyers are truly the best team in the East right now. I think they got it all going for them. Similar to what Vancouver has, they got a top goaltending duo in Carter Hart and Brian Elliott. Their offense is looking really good. I'm not gonna say it's really dependent, but they're really banking on Nolan Patrick being healthy for the entire season, so they can really go down the middle with Couturier, Hayes, and Nolan Patrick. And they're also hoping for Shane Gostisbehere to come back a little bit healthier and return to form. When he came, I believe he was second in Calder voting his rookie year. So if he can return to that form, the Flyers would really appreciate that. And if that happens, then the team definitely wins the East, in my opinion. So we've now named all of our division winners, our top four. So the playoffs, the way the playoffs will work this year, it's a bit different. The four teams from the East. So my teams from the East, I got the Flyers, the Capitals, the Bruins, and the Islanders. So the way it'll happen, the Flyers will play the Islanders in the first round, along with the Capitals playing the Bruins. The winners of those rounds, so say the Capitals and the Flyers end up winning, will now play in the next round. So the Flyers will play the Capitals, and the winner of that will move on. And from the Central, I had Tampa Bay, Carolina, Columbus, and Dallas. So Columbus and Carolina playing the first round, and Tampa Bay and Dallas playing the first round. So winners of those series, like I said, they'll move on, and eventually it'll all boil down to there's one team from each division, and then they'll reseed them from the best. So we'll say the Golden Knights were the best team. They'll be the one seed, only behind the Maple Leafs, who are the second best, and then the Flyers, and then the Lightning. So it'll boil down to a 1 versus 4 and a 2 versus 3. So it could be any division versus any division. There's no East versus West in the Stanley Cup Final this year. So Dan, I'll move right over to you. Why don't you give me the two teams you expect to see in the Stanley Cup Final this year?
So the two teams I think will be in the Stanley Cup Final are the Colorado Avalanche and the Washington Capitals. These two teams, I guess you mentioned it earlier, but my Hart trophy will go to Nate McKinnon. I think he's going to be the best player on the best team. And there are a few guys like Panarin, like Ovechkin, and Kane, because he's going to get a lot of usage. And then obviously the two guys from Edmonton and Draisaitl and McDavid that will give him a run for his money. But I think it's his year. I think it's Colorado's year. So I have Avalanche versus the Caps in the final, and the Avalanche eventually winning it.
I also have the Colorado Avalanche in the final. They'll be going up against, I believe, the Tampa Bay Lightning, though. And I believe the Tampa Bay Lightning repeat. I think they win against Colorado. And I think it'll come down to what I said earlier. They don't have good enough goaltending. I think it's really going to be a big downfall for them this year. I just don't trust their goaltending enough, especially not against Vasilevsky and, the powerful offense of the Tampa Bay Lightning. As much as I'd like to see the Flyers in the Stanley Cup Final, I don't think it's quite their year just
Year
yet.
away.
I think a few more years down the line, they're definitely in, and they're definitely going to win one. And I said it. There's a lot of young teams out there that'll be in the same type of boat that the Flyers are. And the Flyers are a little bit closer, but there's going to be young teams down the line we see eventually make it in. But I think right now, Colorado, they're destined to make it to a Cup Final. And I think Tampa Bay is going to get back there. I don't know who can stop them. I think they're so high powered, even without Kucherov. Uh, just a great team. There's not a whole lot more you could say about it. They showed it. They showed why they're such a good team in the bubble. They've shown why they're these past couple regular seasons they've been great. So I think the Tampa Bay Lightning, they just win another cup. I would like to see another team win it. I'm not against it, but I think the Lightning win it. And just for kicks and giggles, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work this year. But the President's Trophy, it's awarded to the best team in the regular season. But I'm not sure how they're going to do it this year with, certain teams. You can only play within your division. You're not going to play any different teams until at latest the conference finals and the playoffs. So just for kicks and giggles, I'll give it to the Golden Knights. I think they end up being the best team in the NHL points wise because of the very bad division they're going to be playing in. They'll play the Kings, the Wild, the Ducks, the Coyotes, and the Sharks over, I believe, 40 times. So that's a lot of wins and a lot of points off those games alone. Dan, if you'd like to take a fun crack at the President's Trophy, go for it real quick.
Similar to you, but I'm gonna go with the Avalanche instead. I think it's gonna be the same thing, and it's really just gonna go down to who wins more out of the matchups between each other during the regular season. Because I'm thinking well, maybe Tampa will get it, but I feel like the middle of the pack teams might be a bit stronger in their division with Carolina, and then in the East is too strong for a President's Trophy winner, I think, and then the Canadian division as well. Uh, I think Toronto would definitely be the best, but it's a bit more competitive in that division as well. So I'm gonna go with the Avalanche.
Definitely in agreement with that, Dan. So listen, that is the new NHL season for this year. As I said, the 56 game season, the four new divisions, the North, the Central, the East, and the West, different from our usual Atlantic, Metropolitan, Central, and Pacific. So listen, I think this is going to be one hell of a season. I think watching the Battle of Alberta, I think close to 10 times, that's going to be insane. Watching Tampa play Dallas in a cup rematch like 8 times is going to be fun. I mean, Philly versus Pittsburgh at least 8 times. You look at Washington versus Philly. Battle of New York a couple times. Avalanche versus Golden Knights. It's going to be one hell of a season to watch. It's going to be so much fun. It starts today. So, tell us your team in the comments. Tell us your team on Instagram, Twitter, whatever you want to do. Get on the bandwagon now. Find your team. Be ready for the season. It's going to be so much fun. I've been waiting so long for this. Been waiting since September. Hockey is finally back. And I think we'll close it there. Dan, any final words?
Just get ready for the season. It's gonna come at you pretty fast. Only 56 games, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of rivalries, being played over and over again. So it's just gonna be a really good one. So I'm excited.
Well said, Dan. We're gonna sign off. Welcome back to hockey, everyone. It's gonna be a fun season. You can make sure to find out more about it here. Obviously, we'll be talking about it all season long. And we'll be talking about all the good stuff. I'll certainly be talking about all the good stuff. You can find out about injuries, key games, anything you really want to know about hockey right here. Follow us on Instagram at sportsking.com, at Twitter at sports__kingdom, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're watching this video on it right now. It's free. Just click that little red button down there. And that's all I got to say. So I've been Dom, joined by one half of the Price Brothers, Daniel. And we're signing off, everyone. Enjoy your hockey. Adios.
Peace.